Onyeka Okongwu went off. Michael Malone got fired. We got Kevin Porter Jr., Trendon Watford. Even Patrick Williams had a big game. Yeah, it's Tuesday in the NBA. There are 10 games on. Let's break them down. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and if it gets any livelier, a funeral's going to break out. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. Make sure you're checking out lockedondaily.com. We've got newsletters. For whatever your favorite team is across the NBA, sign up and you'll get some great info delivered into your inbox. The best info, in fact. Also, got a few prizes that we're going to talk about for the newsletter later in the show as well. You can get yourselves over $2,000 in gift cards. Sub over here. Yep. YouTube. Audio, double bang, thumbs, comments. Let's get into talking about the games on Tuesday. There were 10 of them. We're just going to get straight into talking about all of this right now. No waiting around, no mucking around here. We're getting straight in. The first game is the Atlanta Hawks and the Orlando Magic. Mouhamed Gueye, the night watchman, he stepped back into the starting lineup after one game out of the starting lineup, and that moved George Niang back to the bench. I don't really understand what happened there with Quinn Snyder. Last game, he moved Niang into that starting group. He didn't play starters minutes, and now it's just back to business. Like, yeah, I don't get it. And Niang is starting, Gueye is starting as well as being the backup center at the same time. Just some weird decisions. Just some weird decisions from old mate Quinn Snyder. That's okay. Make your decisions, Quinny. We'll be good. What else do we need to talk about here? Well, let's talk about Okongwu, because I just talked about him at the start of the show. He was ridiculous. 40 minutes for Onyeka, 30 and 14 with 3 steals, and he hit 4 threes. This bloke is putting up numbers that are going to make a really difficult conversation that we're going to have when it comes to drafting him for next season. I've got no idea where that'll be, but I'm certain it's not going to be outside the top 100, and I'm fairly sure it's not going to be outside the top 75. Trae Young had 28 with 10 assists, and Dyson Daniels 15, a steal, 2 blocks, 5 rebounds. This team is going to lock themselves into the play-in, and they just keep doing solid things. Gueye. I don't know why. I think my throat got a little bit stuck on Gueye then. But we're all good now. Gueye had 3 blocks in his 18 minutes. He had a steal as well, and he's shown an ability to do this. He can get steals, he can get blocks. I'd like to see 21, 22 minutes out of the night watchman before I get interested in looking at him. But if you're desperate, man, this is this end of this season, man. I really need a couple of days off. If you're desperate for blocks, and we know that Gueye is starting, we can go there. Levert showed you why you shouldn't just get excited about him. He played 30 minutes, which is great, but 13 and 6, and then a lot of zeros, and sub 40% shooting. He is a streamable player. And we're just absolutely not rostering Zach Ricochet. 16 minutes, 8 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. He's been one of the best rookies, if not the best rookie this season, and that is not saying much at all. Yeah, we don't need to bother with him. Neither we bother with Krejci, who played 15 minutes, and Terrence Mann went scoreless in his 30. And that's actually a pretty good game for Terrence Mann. What about on the Magic side of things? Goga Bitadze, out of the rotation entirely. Remember the discussions that he was going to be a starter the rest of the season? And then we saw it, that we saw him and Carter playing together, and now he's just done. What a weird run of things. What we also got in this game was I know we got a huge Okongwu game, we got a huge Wendell Carter game. 37 minutes, 17 and 9, 6 steals and 3 blocks from Wendell. Excuse me? I don't think we need to get onto that and go, wow, what an ad, because, of course, that won't happen. He took only 9 shots in this game as well. The minutes are well up. That's just a phenomenal game. It's a ridiculous game. And if you had him on your roster, well done. It does not mean that he's a must-roster player, and I wouldn't view him that way. Wagner had 22, 6 and 6, and 2 steals and a block, and Banchero. We are getting to the stage. I don't think we're there, but we're getting to the stage now, and I'd say even the most ardent Paolo Banchero haters, or maybe they don't because they've paid no attention to him, the ones who tell me that he's not a rosterable player in category leagues, all that sort of stuff. I think that if you actually looked at it now, you'd look at what Banchero is doing and go, you don't actually think we worry about the percentages anymore. I think we're good. I think it's all right. I'm not saying they're good. I'm not saying they're solved. I'm not saying that they're awesome. I'm just saying I don't think that it's this, wow, you've got to punt all these categories for him. I don't think that's true. Another 50% shooting off of Paolo. Another solid game from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He had 15 with 3 threes and 3 steals. I wonder if Denver would like to have him on their team. Maybe. He hasn't been very good this season, obviously. This is a good game. He's a streamable guy. And then, obviously, of course, Corey Joseph continues to be the point guard you want. You don't want him. But Cole Anthony's minutes are going down. 10 minutes for Anthony with 1 point. We're obviously dropping him. While Joseph had 8 points, he had 2 threes and 2 steals. And the more important thing there with Joseph is that he played 26 minutes. So he played more than Mr. Black, who had 8 points in 21 minutes. And they are rolling with Corey Joseph, which again is literally unbelievable. This man has been bad for 7 years. Why is he starting? I don't know. It's happening. They get the win. So who am I to argue? Well, I'm somebody, I guess. But everyone's opinions are important. Keep telling yourself, Josh. Let's go on to the next game. It is your Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Bulls, after pushing and winning and pushing and getting themselves into the play-in, they decided they'd rest everybody in this game. So of course they did. They got cooked 135-113. There was no Vooch. There was no Giddey. There was no Kobe White. There was no Pants Kevin Huerter, plus the injuries of Lonzo Ball and Trey Jones. So what are we going to take out of this? Nothing. Dalen Terry started with Kevin Huerter out. Javon Carter started with Kobe White out. Great, I guess. What do we make of it? And then something that is annoying to me to absolutely no end. With Nikola Vucevic out, it was Jalen Smith who started. Billy, why? Why? After all of this time, after everything that I've been told about Jalen Smith, after the injury to Vuce earlier on, after the fact that Collins was taken out of the rotation, and then Smith suffered a concussion, and then the guy who actually benefited from Vuce's injury was Collins all the way through, and I look stupid, and Smith's been out of the rotation. So in this game, of course, it was Jalen Smith who started. Bro, 13 and 10 in 32 minutes, a 1-1 for Jalen Smith. They started Zach Collins in the second half at power forward, and all this means absolutely nothing, because all these players will be back tomorrow. We had 10 points and 4 steals from Javon Carter, sick. The only regular player who played was Matas Buzelis. 19, 5 and 5, 2 steals and a block. Great game. Means nothing again. Now, his other games do mean something because it's with the rotation there. This one doesn't, even though it's a good game. Patty Williams, 21 points, 5 threes. You'd love to see that. And by love to see it, I mean do it 20 more times and then I'll believe in you. Don't risk anything there. And then the big fella, Taylor Horton-Tucker, 17 points in 30 minutes for him. If he is Delano Banton, he's Delano Banton 1.0, that if guys are out and if he plays 30 minutes, you'd roster him. You absolutely would. But he stinks, so you don't. What about on the Cavs side of things? By the way, this game, if you want to know, again, you know my little rule, one of my million rules that we have. You want to see how stupid this game is when you're looking at it and you're looking and go, oh yeah, that's interesting. We got 10 minutes of Jameer Young. And you go, who is that? Exactly. Oh, and that not garbage time. He played in the first quarter. Yes, that is what this game was. EJ Liddell and Jameer Young were playing minutes in the first quarter. That is how little this game means in terms of the complexities of anything that we could possibly be considering or looking at. Just ludicrous stuff. We should go on to the other side of this now on the Cleveland side. And of course, because they're playing the Bulls, I don't know how much we want to take out of it in terms of outcomes for Cleveland. There was no Donovan Mitchell, so it was Isaac Okoro who started. Mobley was awesome, 21, 11, and 7, 2 steals and a block. I am incredibly intrigued to see a couple of things with him. All-NBA first team, top 5 MVP. I don't think he'll get it, but he might. All-defense first team, defensive player of the year. And where does he go in fantasy drafts? Garland, who's been pretty lean lately. I love to see this from him. 28 with 6 threes and 5 assists. And Jarrett Allen, resting legend, had 12, 9, 3 steals and 2 blocks. Ty Jerome, incredibly efficient once more. 18 points with 3 threes. Now, 0 rebounds, 0 steals, and 0 blocks. But 64% shooting is great. But this was without Mitchell. This is with Hunter having, 17 points and Strus having 9, 5, and 4. It was good games from Hunter and Strus and Jerome. And they're all totally streamable on days like this. But just not guys to lock on to your roster. Deanie Wade, all triples. Sam Merrill, all triples. 3 each for both of those guys in their 9 points. And it was Isaac Okoro who started, and he, of course, had 2 points in 20 minutes because he remains quite a bad fantasy player. We've got 8 more games to cover off, including the next one, which is the Memphis Grizzlies in a scary fall for Jaylen Wells, which is going to end his season. We'll talk about that coming up in a sec. Today's episode, it is brought to you by BetterHelp. Your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. We know how to take care of our physical health. Do we always do it? No. But sometimes we don't even know what we're doing with our mental health. But we do know that, we should know that it's important. That is where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp. Sorry, I can't even speak anymore. Traditional in-person therapy can be expensive. It's often ranging from $100 to $250 per session. That is where BetterHelp comes in. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense, saving you time and money. Therapy is not just for the tough times in life. It can help you with everyday stress, learning and how to set boundaries, or developing positive coping skills. Giving you the access to the support when you need it can make a big difference. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's go on to the next game now. We're going into the third game of the day, which is that Memphis Grizzlies and Charlotte Hornets game. As I just mentioned, the Grizzlies win it easily, 124-100, and unfortunately, really, really serious looking injury there to Jaylen Wells, and the outcome of it is serious, but not as serious as it could have been. And I know that sounds like I'm being obtuse with it, but I'll get to it in a sec. With Wells, he went up for a fast break layup. KJ Simpson was running behind him, sort of. I don't even know how to describe it. It looked like Simpson sort of tripped and fell into the back of him, undercut him, and he landed on his back head. In the end, he suffered head injuries. He's being evaluated for concussion. But the thing that's actually mattering from a basketball on-court perspective that we know is happening, he fractured his wrist, which is a 4 to 6 week injury here, which obviously ends his regular season and probably ends any chance of him playing in the first round of the playoffs. That's Jaylen Wells, who's been a guy that's played literally every single game. I think he started every single game for this team as well, which as a second round pick is a pretty good effort. The guy that started in the second half was Vince Williams Jr. I don't think that we need to rush to add Vince, but what was interesting in this game is that John Conchar didn't play at all in the first half, but he was able to get himself into 11 second half minutes, while Williams was sort of sporadic there. I think you can expect 25 or so out of Vince, and if he was to get 30, we'd be more interested in Vince, but I think at the moment we leave him alone. But what it does open up is more opportunities for Scottie Pippen to play next to Ja Morant. Pippen started the last game, he moved to the bench here with Morant back, and he ended up playing just 23 minutes, 10, 1, and 2 were steal and a block. If I had Pippen in normal circumstances, I'd say it's hard to justify a hold. But because Wells is out, it does open up more chances for him. It opens up more chances for the Duck, Luke Kennard. Not that he did anything here, scoreless in 16 minutes. We don't look at that. And then deeper leagues, you do want to look at Lil John Conchar, who played those 11 minutes. I still never know what to tell you with Santi Aldama. 11 points with 3 threes and 3 rebounds is not good. 2 steals is fine, but then he played 23 minutes. But he will play 30 minutes in the next game, shoot 90% with 17 blocks. I don't know. In the end, just drop him. And if you want to hold him, hold him. I don't care. I can't figure it out. It changes every game. What I do know is that new coach, I just completely forgot his first name and I need to go check it out. What's his name? Let me check it out. That was bad. Tuomas Isalo, Finnish legend. He has just committed to playing Zach Edey. He said, all right, Zach, you're not going to be a bad team merchant. We're going to play you 30 minutes a night, nearly every night. And he's putting up huge numbers. 17 and 19 with 3 steals and a block. Now, he has obviously been nowhere near this all season. But he's doing it right now, and that's what matters. Bain had 19. Jaren had 14 in his 27 minutes. Not a lot else going on in this game. Shout out to Marvin Bagley and to Johnny Davis, the guys that they are able to sacrifice draft picks and players to get in at the trade deadline to help the team get better. What about the Charlotte side of things? I wish we just had a little bit more information on the Hornets for tomorrow. What we had in this one was a late addition to the injury report from Miles Bridges. And then he played. Why? Why would you put him on the injury report? It was obviously not a real injury. You were trying to give an excuse to rest on the first of a back-to-back. So why did you put him there and why did he play? Is it an indicator that, is it one of those little breadcrumb things? No, he's actually hurt. See, yesterday he was questionable, but he played through it, but today he just can't go. Is that what's going to happen? We're going to have no Bridges and no Mark Williams on Wednesday. I think that's realistic, but I don't know. What we did have in this one was a change in the starting lineup for God knows what reason. Daquan Jeffries moved in over Seth Curry. The other thing that happened, because he's been playing well, of course, so Yusuf Nurkic got zeros. DMP. He'll probably start tomorrow. I don't know. It was Moussa Diabate who got the backup minutes, 17 minutes, 10 and 2, while Mark Williams really struggled, 8 and 7 in his limited minutes. The injury there, or not the injury, the guy that got ejected because Jaylen Wells got injured was KJ Simpson, who'd been a really strong pickup. I don't think that he's going to get suspended, so I'd be okay with holding Simpson, but obviously 7-2 and 2 is not good enough. And that's because he played 15 minutes. I'm not going to worry too much about that. If we do hear that there is a suspension, then obviously you would drop him, and then you could consider Nick Smith Jr. if you wanted to kill your field goals. But again, to be fair, he was 3 of 6, 50% shooting in this game, Nicky. Jalen Sims, two-way legend, had 9 points in 18 minutes. So I think we might get an appearance tomorrow from Wendell Moore Jr., who is on that two-way limited contract plan. I don't know what they're going to do with certain guys. Like, there was no Josh Green in this game. I don't think Okogie plays tomorrow. I don't think Curry plays tomorrow. I don't think Williams plays tomorrow. And I think there is a chance that Bridges sits tomorrow. So is it the time that Tisha Salah is able to move into the starting lineup? Maybe. Salam played 29 minutes. He had 13, 9, and 3 with 3 threes. Now, absolutely putrid field goals and putrid free throws. And that's going to be a common thing for him. But we're just getting little bits and pieces from Salam that are improving, and the minutes are better. I don't want to tell you that you need to roster him at all, because you don't, but I do think there is a chance of a start, and maybe we get something marginally interesting. That's as excited as I can get about talking about Tijan Salah. Let's go onto the next game. We're talking the Wizards and the Pacers. The Pacers win it in the end, 104-98, and for Washington, Keyshawn George did return. Georgie moved straight back into the starting lineup, and that moved AJ Johnson to the bench. They have a back-to-back. I think that Keyshawn will probably play in the back-to-back, but obviously I don't know that. That's my guess at this stage. And we talk about the Wizards lineup here. We got actually huge minutes out of Justin Champagny. 20 and 13 with 4 threes. Now, usually he's good for defensive stats. So, of course, he contributed 0 of them today. He was shooting very well, and I think there's a good opportunity for him again tomorrow. We also got Jordan Poole playing 19 minutes and scoring 19 points, and I am fairly certain that Poole will not play tomorrow. I don't know that. It is a game that they don't need him to do anything and pop off. We played 43 minutes of Bub Carrington out of 48. Now, the question you have next is, oh, that's interesting. Was he good? The answer is no. He had 13 points on 26% shooting, in addition, 1 of 3 from the line, which is obviously horrendous. But the minutes are outrageous. AJ Johnson minutes, these minutes had been outrageous, but they dropped way down. 25 minutes for him, 8 points for AJ Johnson. I think wait to see what happens tomorrow. If AJ plays 24, you're not interested in him at all. If he goes back to 35, you're somewhat interested. Colby Jones is the one that got the minutes. He had 32 minutes for Jonesy. He had a steal and a block. And a guy that I did include on the streaming show for Wednesday for blocks, don't tell me I blew it already, because JT Thor had 3 blocks in this game. I went a day early. I don't know if JT is going to do it again. I don't know if the God of Hammers is going to be out there, but he did have 3 blocks and he can block shots. Big shout out to Alex Sarr as well. 20 and 12, 6 assists and 3 blocks. That is a fantastic game. He's doing enough. He's not doing it consistently, but he's doing it more consistently, but he's doing enough to make me go, yeah, I'm interested in what he's performing or how he's performing at the moment. On the Indiana side of this game, of this equation, we'll talk about them because Pascal Siakam returned against the Wizards to have 24 and 10 with 2 steals. He shot unbelievably. I did not think he would play in this game. I thought, hey, if you got something wrong, maybe you just want to sit it out against Washington. But he didn't. He was there, and that meant that Obi Toppin went to the bench, who still had 12 and 7, but you only want Toppin if he is starting because Siakam is out. Mathurin also bounced back from an absolutely dreadful game to post 17 points. It is a very Mathurin game. It's 17 points. It's limited other categories, only 1 3, and he got to the line 7 times. But him and Nembhard and Neesmith, and Nembhard was terrible here, and Neesmith not very good because they can't all coexist together. So you don't want those guys outside of desperation stuff to stream when everyone is healthy. Halliburton played 31 minutes. He had 22 with 6 assists, and Miles Turner chipped in with a double-double, 14-11 with 5 blocks. Good numbers from him, while Tom Bryant basically out of the rotation. Yeah, shocked to see that the team has realized that maybe you don't want Tom Bryant doing anything around your team at all. We've got more games we're going to get into, but today's episode now is also brought to you by Robinhood and Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are now exclusive with Robinhood Gold. No longer exclusive, my bad. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That is over 8x the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 per month for 1 year from the first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8x the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November the 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. All right, let's go on to the next game. The Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. Close game. Overtime game. 119 Boston, 117 New York. But remember, at this time of year, with teams like this that are locked into their spots, none of this stuff matters. Like, it just doesn't really mean anything in terms of how they match up in the playoffs or really anything like that. Porzingis was back starting. Horford was out. Jayson Tatum was back starting. Sam Hauser moved to the bench. But like again, in this one, what are you going to take out of it? There was limited minutes. Jaylen Brown played 22 minutes. I'm worried, man. He might be rooted. Like, he is just barely playing. And they play again tomorrow. I think that you will not get Porzingis or Tatum or Holiday or Brown. In fact, it would be insane for these guys to play tomorrow. Derek White will be the questionable one, and then Al Horford should return, but I don't think that any of those guys are playing. So you're going to look to more Hauser, you're going to look to Cornet, you're going to look to Scheiman, you're going to look to Walsh, you might get JD Davis, and you might get Cater into that mix. But I think that you'll get 4 guys at least out tomorrow. Porzingis was awesome here, 39 minutes, 34 with 8 threes. We had 48 Jayson Tatum minutes. Again, 48 Jayson Tatum minutes on the first game of back-to-back. When their seeding is locked in, there is 0 shot he plays tomorrow. He had 32 and 7. Derek White, 43 minutes, 14, 8, and 9 with 4 threes. Pretty sure he won't play. Drew Holiday, pretty good, 16, 4, and 3. 37 minutes. Would be absolutely ridiculous if he plays tomorrow. Well, Cornet had only 2 points in 19 minutes, but he should play close to 30 tomorrow. 2 and 3 with a steal and a block. Jaylen just continues to suck. Honestly, I'd drop him. He's not going to play big minutes. He's going to sit games. What's the point of holding on for 6 and 5 on 25%? What's the point of this? I don't think there's any point, honestly. I don't think you need to be holding on to him, and I think you can move on. I don't see any real reason to be holding on to Jaylen Brown in fantasy leagues for the rest of this season. On the New York side, just their same starting group there. Towns was great, 34 and 14. Brunson played 38 minutes in his second game back, 27 with 9 assists, and Josh Hart had 10, 11, and 7 with 3 steals, and he played 48 minutes. Bruh. The Jedi OG Anunoby had been absolutely cooking. He did cool off here, 13 and 8 with 2 steals and 2 blocks, and then Bridges had 14 and 4. But honestly, what am I telling you here? We had 2 blocks and 7 boards from Mitch Robinson. Cool. We had no minutes for Precious Achiuwa. Yeah, because he sucks. We had 21 minutes for Deuce McBride. All right, 5 and 5. Whatever. It is the same exact thing from the Knicks. Literally nothing to talk about, and therefore I'm going to stop talking about it. What we will do now, though, is go to the next game. It is the New Orleans Pelicans and the Brooklyn Nets. These 2 teams both in the position of looking to lose. So let's talk about what the Pelicans did. Kelly Olynyk returned. Keon Brooks went to the bench. Jose Alvarado returned. Elfrid Payton went to the bench. Did we get anything that was usable? Well, we got a second solid game in a row from Antonio Reeves. 17 with 4 threes. He shot poorly, but he got 2 steals, and the volume was interesting. I don't know that we need to necessarily be rostering him in all spots, but it's interesting. And guess what we also got? My man, Karlo Makovic. They played him 26 minutes. You'll be shocked to know that he had 17 and 4 with the steal and 2 blocks and shot 73%, which is obviously really good. Is he a 12-team league guy? I want it to happen. I want him to be. I don't know if he'll get 26 minutes a night, but I'm also not averse to trying it. We only got 23 minutes from Alvarado, 16, 1 and 4, 2 steals and a block. You just don't know what's going to happen game by game. Bruce Brown played 30 minutes the other night and he played under 20 here. Cool. Olynyk had 8 points. Like, can you roster them? Like, sort of, but also not really. And we got 19 minutes only from Yves Missi because they let the better player cook, Karlo Makovic. Like, I don't know how to judge this stuff here. Would I be interested a little bit in Reeves? Sure. Jamal Cain had 15 points in 16 minutes. Do I care? Not really. I'd be looking at Reeves. I'd consider Makovic. If I wanted assists, then Elfrid Payton had 10 of them again. But I'm not going to, should I lock Missi in? No, he's bad. Olynyk? Not really. Bruce Brown? Not really. It's just going to be a bunch of backs and forwards. And then you go to the other side of the game and you try and make sense of what the hell the Nets rotation was, and you still don't know. There was no Cam Johnson, who I don't think plays again. There was no D'Angelo Russell, who I don't think plays again. There was no Day'Ron Sharpe, who I don't think plays again. And they rested Keon Johnson randomly. Why? What on earth happened with Keon Johnson? But what we did have was Nick Claxton return. For what reason? I'm not really sure as well, because he played 17 minutes. 13 and 4 with 3 steals for Clax, which all that does is mean that we get fewer minutes from Drew Timme. Now, we didn't actually get that many fewer minutes from Timme. So him being on the streaming show yesterday worked out fine. 16 and 9 in 29 minutes with bad free throws but great field goals, and I expect 25 plus minutes from Timme most nights. Jalen Wilson went from a DNP back into the starting lineup. He played 21 minutes and he just can't do anything. I wouldn't bother with him whatsoever. And the other guy who's starting to look interesting here, well, there's a few of them. We got an Alfred Payton line from Reece Beekman. The Vulture had 0 points, but he had 10 assists and 3 steals. And I do think that there is, at the moment, there's a random mix of two-way point guards who get assists and steals who are available on the wire, and he's one of them. So you can actually use Reece Beekman in 12-team leagues. The guy I wanted to shout out was the Pimple, Derek Whitehead, who's been sort of absent all year. 25 minutes, 14 points, 4 threes, 2 steals. He was an excellent player in high school, a high recruit, top 5 player in the country, multiple foot issues, foot surgeries, and just hasn't really gotten back to himself. And I won't say he's back there now or that he'll ever get there necessarily, but we're getting to the stage where it's getting a little bit more interesting. He's at least in the mix for deeper leagues at the moment. So is Tosan Evbamwan, who had 13 and 4 with a steal and a block. And then Watford had 22 points in 23 minutes. But try and make sense of this. 28 minutes from Maxwell Lewis. All right, what do I do with it? The guys I would consider in 12s here. I don't think Ziaire Williams. Definitely not Jalen Wilson. Not Tyson Etienne. I would consider Watford. I would consider Beekman. I would consider Timme. And I would consider Evbamwan. And I just wouldn't feel good about any of it. It's just too up and down. It's too inconsistent. The minutes, guys either sit out games or they sit out in-game. It's just too much going on. Now we go on to the rematch. The Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the Los Angeles Lakers. The Thunder get this one done, 120 to 136. All of the Lakers were put on the injury report as questionable to rest for this one, which I found interesting. I don't really know what the point of doing that, and then all of them playing, and then because tomorrow, imagine Luka sits tomorrow against the Mavs in Dallas. Do you think that they just let Luka go out there, play by himself, and sit LeBron and Reeves and Gabe and that tomorrow? I don't get it. What is the point of this? Now, I realize that I put up here an incorrect starting lineup change. I said that Jackson Hayes moved into the starting lineup to replace Rui Hachimura. That is false. That is false. Who did move into it was Dorian Finney-Smith. Hayes was already starting. But so it was Jackson Hayes whose minutes increased, but it was Finney-Smith who actually moved into the starting lineup. So I apologize for that incorrect piece of information that's on the screen there. So let's talk about what Hayes did in the extra minutes there. With Rui out, he played 27 minutes. He had 7 and 6 with 2 blocks, which is fine. It's not great, obviously, but you got the blocks, you got some rebounds, you got a good field goal percentage, and now Hachimura probably returns tomorrow, so we don't have to worry too much about Hayes. Of course, you hold because it's a back-to-back, and then we see where it goes. But yeah, we know where the value lies. LeBron, 28 and 7, 3 threes for the man on the Lakers, and Luka got ejected after 31 minutes. 23, 3 and 5 with a block for Luka, and Finney-Smith was also pretty good, 12 points with 4 threes. But honestly, it's just the same stuff here. Reeves, Luka, LeBron, Hayes pops off when Rui is out. We also got a random decent game from Jared Vanderbilt, who had 12 rebounds and 2 blocks. But honestly, not much is changing there. They're playing tomorrow. Just watch. I think Gabe Vincent probably sits. I'll be very shocked if LeBron and Reeves, or even Luka, honestly, imagine it. Can you imagine if Luka sits to rest the second game of a back-to-back in Dallas tomorrow? Maybe it's something he's like, bro, I don't need this mental stress of the nonsense they put me through. Maybe he says that. But I feel like it would be, I know, it won't be covered positively. If that happens, it will be a disaster. We'll see how it goes, but they were all on the injury report today and they all played, so we've got to have our guard up to see what goes on with it tomorrow. On the Thunder side of things, same lineup for them. I expect that they're locked in. They win. They can't really move out of their spot. I expect a lot of rests coming up for them. In fact, I think there's a risk of everybody, them doing one of the, everyone is out games tomorrow. I don't know that they'll do that, but it would make a lot of sense. They play Phoenix on Wednesday. Then they play the Jazz and the Pelicans. We are going to get a million guys sitting out these games. I just don't know who it's going to be at any given point. But on the second game of a back-to-back, after they win, they lock up the number 1 seed. Yeah, they're set. It was a huge game from Shea, 42, 6 and 6. Hartenstein played 29 minutes, 8 and 15 with 2 blocks. And then the Bronco had 26 points. Caruso did his thing. If you added him for steals, you got him, 3 of them. Dort had 2 steals. Holmgren was like mid again. Like, man, it's really a little worrying, the overall level of mid that Holmgren's putting up this season. And hopefully after a healthy offseason, or we see more in the playoffs. But I was worried about how the partnership with Hartenstein would impact him. And I don't know if it is the partnership with Hartenstein or if it's the fact that he fractured his bloody hip and he's just taking it slowly coming back. I don't know which one it is. That's why I want to see what happens in the playoffs there. And the Hong Kong match was Carson Wallace had 2 steals as well. We only got 13 minutes from Aaron Wiggins and 12 minutes from Isaiah Joe. In fact, they played everybody apart from Pig Williams in this game, who's out with an ankle issue. But that also shows you that when the team is healthy, guys like Wiggins and Joe and Wallace, and to a lesser extent Dort and Caruso, they're just impossible to use in most standard formats. You need 1 to 2 guys out to elevate the minutes and the roles of those guys to become more useful for us from a fantasy point of view. Let's go on to the next game. At least we got some relative predictability in this one. It was Minnesota and Memphis, 110 Milwaukee, 103 Minnesota. And I'll tell you what I mean by relative predictability in a second. We had the Timberwolves roll out their same starting group as they obviously do most games. And this is it's absolutely horrific loss. What did they give up? 34-3 run to close the game? How do you lose? Up 30 points. Bro, that's horrendous. Anthony Edwards, 25 and 7, 4 assists. Like, pretty good game, but shot horribly. Naz Reid was very good. 17, 4 and 3. DiVincenzo, one of his better games. 24 with 6 threes. Randall, one of his worst games, 9 points. Gobert, also not good, 6 points with 9 rebounds. McDaniels continues to struggle. And in fact, I don't think you need to hold DiVincenzo for 12-teamers. I don't think you need to hold Jaden McDaniels either. He's just not doing enough to make it make sense. We had 28 minutes from Mike Conley. He had 5 points, like whatever. Not a 12-team league guy, nor is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The debatable ones are going to be Julius Randle, who's struggling a little bit. I would hold him. And Naz Reid, this is a good game, but that makes Naz the 172nd ranked player over the last 2 weeks. I probably would hold him, but he has not been good for the majority of this time. That's probably the fantasy takeaways there. Now, where we get into a little bit more interesting stuff is on the Milwaukee side, because this was predictable. Giannis returned, so Kevin Porter went to the bench. Ryan Rollins moved back to the starting lineup, and Gary Trent went to the bench. But Porter was still putting up big numbers. Now, I would be, again, very cautious of buying into it too much. 21, 4 and 5 with 5 steals is undeniably awesome. But I'm going to do a bit of a golden shower on that sort of level of production for a number of reasons. 5 steals, garbage, not going to happen. 67% shooting, not going to happen. 9 of 9 from the free throw line. Guess what? Not going to happen. Going on a 31-3 unbelievable run or whatever it was to end the game, in which he played the final, 15 minutes of the game. Not going to happen. So while Porter can have big games, obviously, the fact that he comes off the bench and requires these sort of act of God performances to get valued, to me, makes him useful-ish without being a must. We also got the return of Punch Bob. Bobby Portis was back. Hide your ground-up Nurophens, and I'm talking to you, Wayne Carey. Portis had 18 and 10 with 2 threes, 2 steals, and a block. He was back in business. Did it mean good things for Kyle Kuzma? Yes, because it means we didn't get to see Kyle Kuzma play that much. 25 minutes, 10 and 4, steal, block. I would have dropped him 5 weeks ago. And if you're still here with Kuz, get that garbage out of here. I don't know why I ad-libbed it. I've got the button actually just right here at my fingertips. Why didn't I do it?
Get that garbage out of here.
Especially for Kuzma. Rollins was very limited, 5 points in 23. Prince did nothing. And Gaz Trent had 7. You do not need to roster Gary Trent. You can roster Ryan Rollins, again, with Porter absolutely cooking. And we've seen Glenn Rivers that will just do this and go, oh, which point guard looks good right now? They can play the last quarter. But there are so many things in this game. The comeback, the shooting, the free throw attempts, the steals that made Porter relevant. And that's great that he did it. And I'm not taking away that he did it. It's just not a reliable recipe as we move forward. So if you have Porter and you want to stick with him, by all means do that. If you've got Rollins, I don't think I'd necessarily make the swap. Unless we hear that Glenn is going to Porter over Rollins, and I don't think he will. But if we hear that, then you can make that switch. We had 3 threes from Big Boom AJ for 9 points, while Yanni had 23, 13, and 10. and a horrendous 36% shooting from the free throw line. Let's do the next game. Oh, man. Jeez, this is an ass-kicking, this one. The Golden State Warriors take care of business 133-95 over the Phoenix Suns. That's it. Phoenix is done. They cannot make the play-in. They're finished. So I don't know what that means in terms of how they're going to handle their rotations. Does Durant return? Does Booker get games off? I don't know. But this was such an easy victory. They are imploding. Durant is done. Budenholzer's going to get fired. We'll see what they do. Does Booker stay? I honestly have no idea what happens with this team now. Curry played just 26 minutes. He had 25, 9, and 6. Podziemski, another unbelievably good game. He was an incredibly slow start for Podziemski, but he has been awesome. He's a top 50 player over the last 2 weeks. He had 22 and 5 with 4 threes, and honestly, I don't think it's that fluky. We also had, this is how bad this game was, 12 minutes of Pat Spencer. We had 21 minutes of Guy Santos. There was also no Quinton Post or Gary Payton in this game. They were both late withdrawals. Draymond played 20 minutes. Moody played 18. Butler played 20. Again, all I'll tell you is just don't bother holding on to John Kuminga and don't bother holding on to Buddy Hield. They're not 12-team league guys. Everything else, not that important, and nothing that's really actionable as we move forward. On the other side of it, on the Phoenix side, well, I can't wait to do their season review show when we get to that later on in the off season. But they stink. They are terrible. Honestly, what do you do here? You can't really rely upon Royce O'Neal at all. 3 points in 18 minutes. Grayson Allen had 12 points in 18. Beal had 7 in 26. Ryan Dunn was probably the best player with 25 minutes and 4 steals. But I don't care about him in 12s. The only guy you're actually caring about is Devin Booker, who had 21, 3, and 4 with a block. I guess he plays out the string, but no guarantee. Does Durant come back? I also don't think so. Would I bother with Nick Richards or Oscar Iguodala or Bradley Beal? I actually don't think I would with Bradley Beal. 7, 2, and 4 is not good enough. He was pretty good in the other game, but they're not going to push him. He's had a million injuries. I don't think he plays tomorrow now. They're on tomorrow. I don't think he plays then. This is going to be a very weird team tomorrow, and I would just not be... Colin Gillespie had 3 steals. He can do that. He can get steals, but we're not trusting it. Tyus Jones was bad again, 2 points. I've never seen a team that stinks as bad as this team does. And I know Philadelphia stinks and I know Utah stinks. This is a different sort of stink. This is a stink where everyone's there. I know Durant's out, but the team is there. Everyone's available. They're not sitting guys out. They just stink. Everyone's bad. The vibes are some of the worst vibes I've ever seen. It is, yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what keeps causing it. But that is horrendous vibes, and it's been horrendous vibes, honestly, for the majority of the season. I would not be bothered with Beal or anyone. Honestly, Booker's the only guy I'm caring about, unless we hear that guys get ruled out, and then we see some guys jump into larger roles. But at this point, I don't think I'm going to bother with it. And now we can do the final game of the day. The Spurs and the Clippers. In the end, it was only 5 points, but the game was a little bit more in the Clippers' favor than what that score would indicate. The Spurs came in with the same starting group that they've been running with, meaning Bismack Biyombo starting, Jeremy Sohan out, and Julian Champagny and Keldon Johnson coming off the bench. And we got another unbelievable, we got it again, the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Somehow this bloke is deciding that now is the time that he's going to put together numbers that make us sort of interested for fantasy. 6 threes, 24 points, 3 steals, 80% shooting. He has these runs. We know he does. We don't know how long it lasts. It usually lasts a little bit. He's doing it now. If you want to add him for the final few games, maybe, but it could completely fall away. We know this. It's another really interesting Steph Castle game. He had 19 points. Pretty good. 8 assists. Really good. 2 blocks. There we go. 71 from the field. We're really cooking. 1 rebound, bro. And then, 9 of 12 from the line? 8 of 12. Just killing you at the free throws. There's always something. But at least there's enough volume to make it make sense. Vassell struggled in his 25 minutes. Chris Paul did nothing in his 25. Biyombo did some things. He had 8 rebounds. Well, that's the thing he did. Nothing else. And then it was just a spread of minutes. When I said earlier that the game wasn't really as close as that final score, the Spurs pulled everybody. It was Ingram, Harrison Ingram, David Duke, Malaka Branham, Jordan McLaughlin running out the last 4 minutes. And then they got a few sort of cheapies to bring the score back. It wasn't that it was that close all the way through. We got a decent Blake Wesley game with a steal and a block, but I don't think that Chris Paul's sitting out any of these games, so Wesley's value is probably not going to be there. While Champagny played only 21 minutes, and the horse Keldon Johnson was fine, but not someone you're interested in 12-team leagues. You're still just looking at Castle, you're looking at Vassell, maybe Paul, and then it's the occasional stream of Champagny or Biyombo or Barnes for that scoring. That's where we're at, and they continue to just be, I don't know if annoying is the right word. They're sort of just hanging around and doing little bits and pieces, but we are really in the dregs of the season now where just in-game minutes manipulation is a pretty common thing. The Clippers were without Kawhi Leonard as he sat on the first game of the back-to-back. He'll be back tomorrow, so that meant that we get elevated minutes for certain players. One of those players was Derek Jones, who did have 26 minutes with a locker room trip. He did come back, though, 18 points with 2 rebounds on 53% shooting for Jones, but the value drops tomorrow. Bogdanovic, 19, 2, and 4. Okay, cool. But the value drops tomorrow. Jimmy Harden had 21, 9, and 12, and we had another absolute monster from Ivica Zubac. He'll be an interesting draft guy. You're not going to get the value you got on him this season, obviously, but 24 and 20 for Zubac, while Powell was pretty good. He played 41 minutes. He had 25, 5, and 3, but we know the story. He just needs lots of shots. And when Kawhi plays, he does not get lots of shots. So tomorrow, Kawhi will return, and we'll see exactly how that impacts all these guys. But overall, I'm not really sure that we learnt anything from this Clippers game on the Clippers side of things in particular. What we can do now, though, is finish out the show by going through the lines of the night and going to the monstrous line of the night at first. First of all, of course, it has to be Onyeka Okongwu. Not only did he hit 4 threes, but he had 30 points with 14 rebounds and 3 steals. Your waiver wire line of the night was his opposing center in that game, Wendell Carter Jr.'s 30% rostered on Yahoo. He had 17 and 9 and then just a cheeky 6 steals and 3 blocks. Your young gun of the night, are we doing centers again? Of course we are. It's Zach Edey, who is playing a lot of minutes at the moment, and he generated a ton of numbers. 17 points with 19 rebounds, 3 steals, and 1 block for Edey, who is clearly a must roster now. And the dud of the night, we've got to go to Boston. Jaylen Brown played 21 minutes. He had 6 points. He had 5 rebounds. He had 1 assist. His knee is cooked, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be sitting at least one of the final 3 games to end this regular season. That ends this regular season recap show. We'll be back tomorrow with a preview for Thursday's 5 games, plus a recap of Wednesday's 10 games. In the interim to that, you can come in here and hit the thumb on the video. You can subscribe. And I mentioned earlier that we've got some prizes for the Locked On Daily newsletter. So between now and April the 30th, if you sign up for the free newsletter at lockedondaily.com, we've got 3 prizes: a $2,500 Best Buy gift card, a $300 Game Time gift card for your tickets to live events, and a $200 Fanatics gift card for your merch. So if you sign up for the newsletter, not only do you get best information you can find about your favorite team, well, you've got a chance to win some pretty good prizes. So jump in over there, hit the subs on the video. You know how to do that, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Have a GNT on me. See ya.